Good evening. This is the Jordan Small Middle School Visioning Committee, and I would like to call this meeting to order. And our first order of business is a review of the minutes from last meeting, and assuming or hoping everybody had a chance to look at them. Any questions or comments?
The next meeting is on, we're not having a meeting on the 9th?
Correct.
Okay.
Because of the town meeting.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah, okay. That's the only question I had.
So the next meeting is the 16th.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Moved and passed. Thank you. So next order of on the agenda was a follow-up with Rolf. He and I have chatted a couple of times since last meeting, and but the main issue was the discussion about this committee and what our scope was, and he sees no reason why we shouldn't include all of our thoughts, including what we would like to do with or what we recommend being done with vacant buildings. He says it will just save the next committee time and effort if we give them food for thought. So we're good to go there. I did talk with Kevin. I don't have that as a bullet on the agenda, but thought of it as I was prepping today. And the question there was to Kevin about the use of the basement space at Jordan Small Middle School, possibly for the service, because when we toured it last, we found that it was pretty dry and everything. And as I'm sure you can imagine, Kevin was very good at providing me some response to that, and his criteria is it has to be a dry location, above ground level, and without the help of relying on sump pumps. The height measurement requirement is at least 8 feet. As you remember, one section of that's only like 6 feet. The other one is maybe barely 8 feet. So right there, that might make it a non-contender. Environmental control must be maintained at 72 degrees Fahrenheit. As we continue to add servers, that becomes more of a challenge because, of course, the servers add more heat, every one that you add to it. And it should be co-located with the IPTV control room, where they would have the support needed for running the control room. Another item is that he mentioned again was that the IPTV control room needs to be adjacent to the broadcast studio so that the videographer has easy access to whatever meeting is taking place in case they need to interact during the meeting. And then easy access to the ceiling for distribution of cabling and whatnot. So all
Makes care of that.
good information, and we will also send that forward to the next committee for their consideration. So, developing a method for reporting to the select board. The next thing I had on here was the mission statement. I want to thank Deb, Lori, and Grace for pulling something together for us to review and talk about. And I was wondering if one of the three of you would be willing to read it into the record.
Before Deb.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. So the mission statement for the visioning committee or the mission statement for the community center? Which do you want?
Whatever you guys came up with, I think is.
All right, so we did two things. We drafted a mission statement.
I took them as one, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Okay.
We drafted a mission statement for this committee.
Okay.
Vision committee, and then we drafted a vision and mission for a community center.
Okay.
So the draft mission statement for the visioning committee, the Jordan Small Middle School Visioning Committee is tasked with identifying potential uses for the Jordan Small Middle School, utilizing information gathered via the draft 2025 Raymond Comprehensive Plan and input from the community and town departments, including the library, parks and recreation, and town offices.
Great. Thank you.
You want me to continue?
Yes, please.
All right, so our draft vision for the community center for Raymond is residents and visitors of all ages will have expanded opportunities for learning, well-being, social connection, and civic engagement. That's the vision. The mission for the community center, the Raymond Community Center, or whatever it it becomes known as, will foster community connections, provide resources, programs, services, meeting spaces, and technology in a safe, welcoming, accessible environment. The specific offerings will align with the needs, goals, and aspirations of the community as identified in the draft 2025 Raymond Comprehensive Plan.
All right. Sounds good. Any follow-up thoughts or discussion? Or?
Thought it was very good, really good.
Okay.
One thing that we discussed was attaching the wish list for specific types of programs and services with this. So in case there were questions about what did we mean by any of this, there would be a little more detail or examples.
Examples, okay. All right, great. Do I have a motion to accept this as something that we want to use going forward?
I so move.
Second? All those in favor?
Who
All right.
seconded?
Well done, thank you.
I didn't see who seconded.
Kayla.
Kayla did. All right. So just a note here on the Jordan Small floor plan, it hasn't changed from our last meeting as far as I haven't done any additional updates since we haven't really made any changes yet. I did take an attempt at doing that on the PDF, and hopefully everybody got a copy of that so that you can refer to it in your leisure. And that way we've got something to refer back to and something that's easy to transport to the next committee as well. The next thing I had on the list was a summary report. Just wanted to get a sense for, am I headed in the right direction? Is there something that, I know that this is incomplete, first of all, so I'll just say that up front. But it was kind of, it started out as an outline, but I couldn't help myself but fill in a few of the blanks along the way. So mostly things like dates and numbers and stuff like that. But the area that's probably going to need the most work from us as a committee is the summary and the recommendations and the conclusion. And I'm looking for additional
I think
input.
it's great format. I think it really follows what we've done, and it helps people understand what it is they'll be looking at when they read the report.
Okay, great.
So, a couple things. It's in the very first, the intro, you're referring to it as the implementation committee. I was just thinking maybe the planning or repurposing committee might be better, because I don't know that they're implementing it until the town's actually voting on it, right?
Right, so I didn't pick that word myself. I found that
In the
in
charge?
some of the charge, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I used it. We can put in whatever, I think, yeah, and actually I found it was actually Building Implementation Committee.
Building committee might even be better than what I just said, too. I don't know. I mean, I'm fine, but that just caught my eye,
Yeah, okay.
so.
Any other thoughts?
Under
probably not a
the,
big deal. Sorry.
No, that's good,
No, it's a
Grace,
good
thank
one,
you.
yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
under the summary and recommendations, we discussed a little bit about maybe recommending that there's a couple of liaisons from this committee that would follow through with the implementation committee, just to maintain continuity
Oh, here, Deb.
and of intent and that kind of
Yes,
thing.
that's a good point, yeah.
So I didn't know if that could go in that
I think that's a
section.
good place, yeah, that absolutely, it should be included as part of that.
Also, under the summary and recommendations, it says, recommends the current village library, the B, once it is vacant. That's assuming that that's what the building committee is going to, or whatever that committee is going to do. I think we're kind of assuming that that will indeed happen,
Right,
but maybe if it becomes vacant or something would be just because we're not really making that decision, although pretty much we have, perfectly honest, I think, but.
No, I think that's,
And instead of thrift shop, I think we were talking more about the loan closet idea along with the food.
actually, when I looked at the minutes, it had both.
Yeah,
Both, okay.
both
Talked
thrift,
about
yeah.
both.
So do we might want to mention that then, the medical loan or just loan
Mm.
closet or something,
Yep.
just to not lose that idea?
I think so.
And if we're making recommendations for the vacant library, will we be doing the same thing for the vacant town office? Is that another agenda item that we're going to talk about
We
later?
could.
But this would be
Yeah.
the place to put it.
Yeah, the only reason I haven't said, that, I mean, we haven't, as a committee, discussed much about the town offices, is we've been more focused on that,
Mhm.
what to do with the library. That seemed like a good building, and we hadn't actually even gotten to the point where we're incorporating the town offices into Jordan Small Middle School, although I think we are headed that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the sense I got from the last meeting, is
Yeah.
most people discussing didn't have a problem with the town office having space in that building.
Right,
Especially after looking at your the numbers that you published.
right,
Yeah.
right, by the numbers. Yeah. All right,
Can I ask that on where it's got the town committees listed, 9 committees, some are defunct,
Mhm.
maybe some are inactive or defunct? I don't know if they're all defunct, but
yeah, that's probably a better word. I was struggling with that a little bit,
Yeah.
and I never went, circled back.
Some are not meeting, maybe.
Right.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, do they still exist? I don't know, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a much better word.
Okay. And how would others, I was thinking about this. Can we make a recommendation that this next committee, whatever it should be called, be appointed relatively soon and get to work? Because they're not going to meet weekly, obviously. I think that's obvious. I'm amazed that we all have been meeting weekly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more to that work of that committee, and to really be ready for when the building is available, so that it's not, people have mentioned, it would be nice to not have it left vacant for too long. I mean, it will be vacant for a while any renovations that might be done.
Yep.
But the sooner that that is done and the town has voted on it, the sooner all that work can begin and it can be available. So if we recommend, I just wrote to myself here, I think they should be appointed really soon and begin their work in September.
Yep.
But
I agree.
No, I think that too. I think if we give them, a sense of urgency, then I think that would help,
Yeah.
definitely.
And when Deb and Lori and I met, we were talking about possibly getting additional feedback through just like a table, like the comprehensive plan had at November elections. If that committee were established in September and had at least 1 or 2 meetings, that's an opportunity to help kind of share current thinking and ideas and just get some more feedback without actually having to do any more surveys necessarily. But
Right.
I had one more, if I may. We've mentioned a few times how important communication is going to be about all of this, both the ongoing process, but especially once we have a community center, that we have a community center and what is there.
Right.
So I just would recommend that that be something that that committee really keeps in mind.
Marketing and promotion, yeah.
Very good.
I just had a minor thing for, under community, we have age-friendly Raymond, this is on page 3. Age-friendly Raymond now is part of Parks and Rec, if I'm not mistaken.
Not officially.
Oh.
So it'll be,
Till the
if the warrant article passes, the part-time age-friendly coordinator will be under Parks and Rec
Okay.
come July 1st.
Thank you.
And I guess sorry. One other thought was, we had also mentioned at one point, trying to be sure that the history of Jordan Small is somehow preserved. So is that maybe another recommendation for that next committee, so it's not lost?
That's a
I
good
did,
one.
Yeah.
I did hear back from Frank McDermott, unless there's someone that knows something more. What he told me was there had been a one-room school building in East Raymond that was named for Mary Ellen Small, who was a teacher. And then in Ernie Nights, it seemed that there were several one-room schools throughout the town. But then in 1960, the Jordan Small School was built as a consolidated school. And Jordan, he didn't know the first name, was also a teacher. And both Mr. Jordan and Ms. Small gave money towards building that school, hence the name Jordan Small. So I would think Frank would know if anybody in town knows, and I'm
Yeah.
thankful for that. He did say, or maybe I read it in Ernie Nights thing, the town hall was the East Raymond School at one point. You're nodding, so I guess you knew that too. I didn't know that. Anyway,
Interesting.
but somehow to keep that, maybe there's a plaque or something, I don't know.
Thanks for finding that out. 'Cause thanks for finding that
Oh,
out, because
well,
I had
thank
no
Frank.
idea of the history of the naming of that school.
And do you think it would be appropriate for me to contact Frank and ask him to maybe give us a little write-up that we could include in our report?
If he wouldn't mind, yeah, sure, I think that would
Yeah.
be great. I just don't want to lose that thread from
Yeah, I think
something that
that's
this
important to
group.
get it in writing and
Mhm.
then make sure that we do pass it
Okay.
on. As that is important.
Sure.
So the Small, it's, the school's named after, she's related to the Mrs. Small that,
I would imagine
yeah, that
so.
donated the land for, or
For the-
sold the
for
land.
RES.
For the RES, yeah, okay. I thought so,
Assuming
yeah.
He didn't say that, but I
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
Thinking.
Will you do that, or will?
I will do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Frank's
Okay.
my neighbor, so, and we
Oh.
see each other frequently.
Okay.
so.
Great, thank you.
Oh, and Pete, I wanted to talk to you at the last meeting about the STEM teacher
Mhm.
was willing to, within her class the next 2 years, build a wooden something to leave in Jordan Small. So, you know, how much we've loved all the artwork in the different buildings that we've been to. She offered to have the 7th and 8th grade students do something to leave. I thought that was fabulous. So that's a STEM teacher, and then the art teacher is also wanting to put some artwork around, you know, like patchwork quilt stuff and whatever. So I love having the two of them joining us. So
Okay, so we can add that as a recommendation, so that doesn't get lost with the next committee?
yeah, if
That
they're
they'll
willing to
follow
do
up
that, I'd love to see that
Okay,
happen.
and point of contact, should that be you or the STEM teacher?
It could be me, or yeah, or the art or STEM teachers. They said they would take that up the next 2 years before they move out.
All right.
Should we be making any recommendations about the naming of the community center, or is that would be left up to another group?
I think we're a ways away from, yeah.
That's
I
not
think-
really in our
Yeah.
scope,
I
okay.
think it's a little too soon for that.
All right,
yeah.
I just want
I
to
mean,
make
I know that I
sure.
lean more towards community center than municipal
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
so-
definitely.
But that's all
Okay.
I've got at this
I
point.
didn't know if that was something we should be putting in our recommendations.
All right.
So Peter, would you want to present this on the June 17th select board meeting or wait till July?
The June 17th, is that where they meet next?
Yeah.
If we can wrap it up by then, I'd say yes. So we're looking at next meeting being our last meeting. Is everybody comfortable with that? Because we talked about extending, but I think we're on track.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how far in advance Mel needs all the data that will be presented. It might be a full week,
At least 7 days, you try to
Yeah,
so maybe.
collect.
yeah, I think it
that
might
for
be a
the-
July meeting, yeah.
Should make sense with new select board members as well.
Right. That'd be their first meeting as the new select board, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we want to hit them right off the bat with this? or-
I think we should overwhelm them as best we can. Yeah.
While they're still
well, the
bewildered?
last meeting is the day before the select board meeting.
Right.
So that, I mean, if
Right.
there's anything that you wanted to get, wrap up, or wouldn't give you much time to do it before the meeting on the 17th.
Right.
Good point.
Right.
And if we need more time,
If we need to, then we'll have that available to us. So maybe we'll go the next.
July.
We'll try to go for that. When's the one after the 17th?
That would be July 8th.
And I might not be available, so I'll double check and find out.
Pete,
Okay.
I'm sorry, before can you go back to the floor plan at some point? I don't know if we wanted to maybe just put an asterisk next to some of the things, like one of the rooms was labeled as, it says, it's a typo, book sale sorting, like an asterisk, like potential use for some of the less priority types of
I
things.
think we're going to get into that in a little bit of
Okay,
detail
sorry.
here.
All right,
At least that's my intent, is that we'll get into that a little bit more detail, and
Okay.
that's a good way of maybe identifying them, yeah.
thanks.
So, all right, I did update the Excel spreadsheet as far as the wish list. I didn't print myself off a new copy, but I basically have the old one. Did it agree with everybody as far as what we had discussed? Just wanted to make sure that I hadn't missed something.
Me with the priorities?
Yeah.
I think you covered it very well.
I think we got it? Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. I sent out an email with a spreadsheet that's called By the Numbers. I think that would be the next thing to get us started on thinking about how we want to do exactly what Grace was just talking about, and that is maybe consolidating some spaces or making them a suggestion, not necessarily something in stone. I mean, it was a good exercise for me to see just how the numbers played out for each of the different groups. And I guess I'll open it up to discussion as far as, what do people think? Where do we need to make some changes? Maybe one being we make sure we have adequate space for town hall.
Well, that's probably the step, because that's not in the current,
It's not in the current floor
Right, so I think
plan,
that's
but
the first
I would
thing.
like to include that
yeah, we have
at
to,
the, when I get a chance to revise that, or, create a new one. All right, well, I guess I'll just open it up as far as, the library's asking for a lot of space. What do you think, Deb?
I think that the reason it looks like a lot of space is
Yeah.
because all of those different meeting rooms that can be broken up into whatever, multi-purpose use rooms,
Right.
probably will be under the scheduling or booking by the library. So it just made sense to group it all with the library. That was my thought process on that,
Okay,
if that's how it goes.
right, and that's, I guess just, one of my thoughts is that I think somebody who hasn't been part of this committee that was to come in and look at these numbers would probably be like, so the library's going from 2,600 square feet to 13,000 square feet. That sounds like a lot. And I don't want to lose something because they don't understand our thought process.
Right. And so if you look at where the collections go and the program, some of the programming spaces,
Yeah,
it's not a lot. Right now, they don't have enough space to
Right.
do what they need to do. So they do need more space anyway. They
Right.
probably need double or triple what they have.
oh, yeah.
But then we have the book sale space, which I believe is happening in a shed right now. So that's not
no, it's in
very
the
good.
building, it's in the building, the book sales space.
Where they sort the books and store
No,
them?
no, we have a whole couple cabinets full of books for sale in the space.
Oh, I thought
It's
I was
just
told it
extras.
was-
No, the book sales takes place right in the
'cause
library.
I know
Yeah.
that's not optimum for that, to be in the library, taking up space that could be used for
Oh, yeah,
other things.
absolutely, but it's in the library now. It's not
okay.
out in the bookshop. That's just for storage and stuff, yeah.
So, and then, if you want some dedicated spaces for digital classes or for people to do work or have private group meetings or video conferencing and things like that. All those different spaces will take space, but, those rooms can be carved up into spaces, but they'll probably be under the aegis of the library as far as who administers that space. So that's why, it doesn't mean it can't be used by anybody,
Yeah.
but it just made sense that somebody's got to schedule it.
Richard and I did talk briefly
Yeah.
about how there's a lot of overlap between Parks and Rec
Yep.
and the library. So some of those functions might be both.
Right.
And
It's shared space,
Right.
yeah.
and when talking to Richard, we do, like, Parks and Rec already has a reservation scheduling aspect, so it's as simple as if,
Everyone has access to it.
right, if Richard or a coordinator wants to put in time, it's in there, kind of scheduling internally. So there might be a lot, maybe in some of those spaces, maybe a different color of multi-use or
Right.
departmental use might be visually better to present,
Yeah,
is
or-
my suggestion.
Or just call it shared space. Sue just
Yep.
said shared
Right.
space.
Yep.
Right.
But
And maybe
it's
that's,
not even just those two, really. It's,
Yeah, right.
right. And maybe that's what we should do going forward, is instead of designated, this is Park and Rec, this is library, not have designated colors for different departments, but just say, these are our recommendations for these spaces. And just label them, whatever the
Right.
name of that space becomes as part of our recommendation.
Because it'll take time to build some of these programs we're talking about. I mean, it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
So we
talked
don't want
about that,
space
so-
empty for, until, I mean, it's just,
Right.
it's going to take a while.
Right, but certain spaces will need certain interior designs. So like if you're going to have one room cut into two rooms for video conferencing, privacy for telehealth, or somebody wants to do a job interview virtually or something like that, those spaces are going to have to be set up for those types of purposes.
Right. I mean, similarly, I think like the one that stands out for me is the senior space that they had at Westbrook. I mean, that was their designated space, and they had it set up for their use, and they, used it regularly, it looked like. So,
I
Okay.
think, sorry.
yeah.
I think too that it's really up to the town as how it wants to split its budget. So that will define who owns any registration system or rooms themselves. There will be rents associated with that for your budget, and manpower probably is the biggest piece. But that's not us.
Right.
Right.
So I think the
Thankfully.
suggestion that we label, like, anyone can own this as a multi-use space, that will drive activity down the road.
Yeah, right, yeah.
We'll figure out the operational piece of it as we go forward.
And it's all under the town, all these,
Right.
the three,
Yeah.
they're all,
So if we've got a wish list and everything, so one of these multipurpose rooms could be a senior space, because I would really like to kind of have a senior space, because if we do, we can have more activities, but we wouldn't have probably something every day.
right, so it'll be scheduled, and so it's not always, just sits empty until, until you schedule it to use. It's going to be a but
Yeah.
you would have a schedule that's set, and then that's your space for that time period.
So a nice senior room would be,
Yeah, right, and that senior, they could do a lot of stuff in there, yeah.
build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I think because of the need, we might want to actually label that space senior space.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
That's just, we're talking about wishes, and I just think that's really something for an aging community to have a go-to, and it could grow. I mean, that is my hope.
A Saturday or so ago, I had the opportunity to spend the day at the Hawthorne House at a yard, they had a yard sale, and I am totally impressed on the building, how beautiful it is. And, I mean, we haven't talked much about what they're doing there, but it's, they rent it out for events mostly. I heard talk about like a community center, but it really is an event center. It seems, they're going to have a cabaret night, they have music, jazz. They had an art show last year. They even had a wedding there. It's just, and they got the kitchens all finished now, and a nice bathroom, and it's beautiful. It's really nice. So that is really something for this town to think about with, that space. And not that the town would do anything with it, but it belongs to the community. But it is a community center of sorts that is available in this town. And it's lovely in there. It really is. They've done a lot of hard work.
I mean, some things that were written into the proposal may not be on the wish list because they were written in over here. So like art exhibit space. We kind of worked it into our ideas, brainstorming here for the library, but there's nothing, I think, in the wish list about public art exhibit space. So I'm not sure if we should go back and forth and make sure that something appears either in both or at least in one master list, or just so it
Right.
doesn't fall through the cracks.
Yeah, we can do that for sure. If you want to-
I mean, I don't know if book sale space was in the wish list, but we included it in the library proposal because we know that's a usual function that happens under the library. And I'm sure Joe and Richard they're gonna discuss and
Yeah.
figure out what's gonna be good ways to coordinate the space and use it.
Okay. So I think we kind of have answered this question, but the next item I had was, do we want to include the town hall office with the community center? Do we have
Do we want to what?
include the town offices into the Jordan Small Middle School?
Well, I've certainly expressed my desire to do that. I mean, I think I've been pretty vocal about that I felt that was
Yeah.
important. May not happen or whatever, but if we're looking at the next 10 to 15 years, if we don't put the town hall in there, I think 15 years it's going to be, the people will be looking at building another building, which I don't know if people, if we can fit it all in here.
Right.
And everybody just works together to use the space. I mean, that's my feeling about it.
I think when we consider the size of Raymond as far as population and whatnot compared to some of these other towns that we visited, that it seems like we should have more than enough space at Jordan Small Middle School to include that plus Parks and Rec and library
Absolutely,
and
I think
community
so.
center.
Yeah, I think
ideas.
so.
Is there anybody opposed to making sure we include the town hall?
I'm not opposed. I just think it's important that we remember that so much work is going to be done after this committee with needs assessments, architects. It's going to be very in-depth in evaluating all buildings and needs. I mean, I think we supply the wish list, and that's all we can do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
No, that's a good reminder.
I mean, fitting it in is not going to, we have the wish list that this is what we feel, that the town, for that space, but it's going to be up to the architects and the engineers to, the feasibility of that and how everything fits.
Okay.
And I think my only hesitation on it was seeing all these other things that we've kind of penciled in potentially, and is there enough room to do it
Well, that's
justice for what it needs? But I asked at one point, is there any part of town office that would stay in that building and the rest be here? And that didn't make any sense. They need to all be in one space. That's very clear. So now I'm thinking, is there anything we've kind of penciled in here that could potentially go in that space so that there's definitely enough room for the town office needs here? Is there anything that kind of is on its own that doesn't need to be all together? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. I really can't see myself what
I don't
that
think
might
we have to
be.
decide that now. I think we
No, I know, we're not
provide
deciding.
the wish list and then see.
Right, but just as a recommendation.
Yeah, of ideas of when they look at it, they see the whole picture. I don't think we have to, worry
Well-
about where other places that could go. You don't know how it will develop. that we'll develop, and there's the list of
Just
things.
thinking ahead, if this next committee is doing all of the detail work Kayla just talked about and says, not all this stuff is going to fit there, and yes, so there's some things on that wish list that are really more than just a pie in the sky kind of a wish, I would hope that they would consider then, but this could then be in this space, this, whether it's the library space or the town office space or something, so that really we're trying to, because these were all things that we identified as, would be really nice to have, that we thought the community would like and use. Just raising it as a possibility.
Oh, that's good, thank you. I think we've also answered this next question. So, do we want the Jordan Small buildings to be the place for the community space, parks and recreation, and the library? I think that's pretty much decided at this point. And for our recommendations, even though I did cobble something together for that piece, I want the committee's input. Does our committee recommend using the current library as the new food pantry and thrift shop and
It's an idea, yeah, it's an idea.
It's a good
as an
option.
idea?
Yeah,
Right.
it's,
We've said a couple of times, right? They're going to do what they want,
yeah.
and hopefully they'll take our thoughts into consideration. I'm sure they will. But yeah, they're going to make it work.
Yeah.
basically. Okay.
I mean, it is a good space for that, so, for
It
sure.
seems like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or is it that, or the town office?
What?
Is it necessarily, definitely recommend the library be used for that? Or recommend either the library or the town offices be used for that? I mean, it's really kind of depends.
Oh, the town of,
Say.
yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about it, though, being down on Main Street, and
That's true.
that
The
was one of
village.
the things, people could
Right.
walk to it.
Next to the community garden.
Yeah, near the community
That's true.
garden, which we really, which donates money, yeah, so that, I think we brought that up, so.
Yeah.
it'd be a
So what
better
was the
space.
problem with the town hall? Is it basically they're running out of space?
Yep.
Or the
Yes.
building is not
It's
great?
both, it's both.
So would it be suitable for
We don't know,
to transfer?
we don't know what it's gonna be
Oh, I
soon,
just-
I think that'll be something that'll come, I don't know. I mean, I don't think we have to,
Yeah, I'm
it'll be a
just curious.
building, so it's certainly not big enough for town hall right now.
Right. We're
Be
thinking
a
more
one-room
in
school
depth
again.
Well, that's what I was wondering. It's a nice little
It could be,
house,
maybe
yeah.
there is a daycare there or something, who knows? But
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Right,
That
they
would
may
be-
go in that direction.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
good, that's a thought, yeah, for sure. You have to
Okay.
Up your rates. They heat the place.
And a playground.
Yeah,
A
right.
playground out there.
That's right.
So, for the next thing, Laura, you had planned on walking us through a exercise at our last meeting to maybe help identify more, define the spaces, I guess.
Well, you had the colored pencils idea, and then I was concerned that we would be crossing out and marking things up. So I have just some color-coded things that can either represent use, like who would use this space, or manage the space, or this is my opinion, so I take all the yellows. Just to lay out what we see and where there are commonalities to how we think we should use the or could use the space. It's
Right.
just an idea, because Post-it notes are easy to move.
Right.
You know, if we find that most of us are completely in favor of a gym class near the library, then, that would be different than what we've looked at before. But I think we need to bring our own individual biases into this, because we're here because we want to be here. So we have ideas, and we have perspective too.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. So why don't we head in that direction and start looking at this?
Do you want to have colors or use? Do you want each person have a color for, or
Okay.
name it? I don't know.
whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I don't know what works best.
Chairs aren't the best.
Marilyn Benson, Rush Road.
It's very return. You come up.
I come up, yeah, I come up Bittersweet and then turn left onto Harvest Hills. I used to get lost out there all the time. I finally figured it out.
Just keep going, yeah, it's just
It's
incredible.
crazy. But you know, I was telling him that whole road that ends up in the, he says, that's private. That's like, oh my God. Do you go up through Colonial? Is that how you go up?
I don't know the best way to do this, quite honestly. We have to turn these on, right?
No, the mic is on.
Yeah.
Just need to hold it.
Whoever's going to be speaking, actually grab the mic and talk into the mic so that it can be heard.
Really got all the colors, didn't you?
Tell us what you want us to do.
I don't know what would work best, what would be least confusing. I think our job is to not determine whether that meeting space is library or age-friendly is Parks and Rec. So I think possibly we could each be responsible for a color and then write what group it goes with, if you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah, I need an example.
Sure.
So, and maybe we can speed this up a little bit in that if we go and look at like, gym, we know that the gym's gonna stay the gym. So unless somebody has, you know, a comment that I can't even think of, I would think that some of these things we're maybe as a group are okay with.
I think you should leave the kitchen area, and then, like you said, the gym. Move the kitchen somewhere else, or move that's an undertaking and a half.
This entire area is
It's
as
done.
is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just
I mean, there's
wanna-
nothing you're gonna do with that.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you know, I'm not opposed to or afraid to mark this up. If somebody wants to write on this,
Yep.
by all means, please do, because I have another copy of this, and I can make a final version if need be.
So,
I may have missed this, but why do you have a fitness room at the gym?
Ask Joe.
What happened?
You're being called out, Joe.
Oh, no.
I guess.
Why is there a fitness room and
Joe.
gym here?
Is that the microphone that you had?
No, Nate had that one.
I think you put that on mute.
This one's live, though. This one's
Yes.
hot.
So I think
So
it's
the-
this room and this room.
So the reason why, this would
Oh,
be,
no, is it this room, Kayla?
That's a-
In this room, or?
Well, I see fitness room,
okay, so
Right.
that's,
and then I see a gym.
so that's storage. So the fitness studio would be more of the wood floor with like the mirrors, and you have kind of more of like the jazzercise, Zumba, yoga, Pilates. It's a open space studio. Then this would be a fitness gym where like it has equipment, weights, treadmills,
Who can
bikes.
envision using that?
I don't know. It was in the survey, and it got pretty popular. People wanted a fitness gym. So the reason why I put it over here too is because you could have a check-in fob access here instead of intern where there'd be more of the recreational leisure type stuff. So
you've already got the colors here, so let's use them.
I worry a little bit about the gym being right where the public would come in and do their business, to register
Yeah,
their cars and stuff.
sure.
I mean, will this get noisy, like loud music and?
if you have Arnold Schwarzenegger in there, yeah,
Yeah.
you could be pumping weight. Yeah, right.
I don't know.
No, I think there's definitely room to move it. There's also the possibility of building out back here too. So it could be phased in for much later if there's time or if we have
Or need, or, yeah.
the resources. Yeah, just off the top of the head, that
Yeah.
was,
Because we hadn't penciled in anything for town hall yet, right?
Right.
But we were
This-
kind of thinking
This
this
seems like a
end of
good
it.
block for town hall.
Yeah.
I was actually, this is just my opinion, I was thinking that the town offices should be the most accessible in terms of the number of people that use it. Here we would have, yes, but that's so perfect for the
I
library.
know. This was what I kind of thought would be the perfect spot for the town office. You can open this all up relatively easy, and it's easy access here. But you can think of the library too.
Yeah, because they need the biggest open space outside of the gym, which, and these rooms can be divided,
These are stairs,
these
though,
are-
if I recall.
Correct.
yeah.
Everything, all the entrances here are ADA, they've got ramps coming up to them.
Okay. I was
And
thinking,
if you were gonna do a build-out, that would all be incorporated in that anyway.
This,
Oh, yeah.
where's the, here, this is the library, right?
The large
The large-
community and
and-
the TV studio.
Which is the
Broadcast.
current library in the
Yes.
school. So this is not accessible to, in this
So
way.
you
It's
Yeah.
have
gotta come
to, you
down
have
around
to
there.
use the ramp and go all the way
Right.
down. to
or
correct.
come in this way.
Yeah.
Is, and you know the building better than most of us, Nathan. Could we conceivably, if we wanted to spend the money, close this and make this inside space?
I think anything's possible. I would think that that's gonna be an undertaking.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that has,
windows, the daylight.
I don't know if that has a walkway, though.
There is a walkway up, where's the portable classrooms? Right here, so there is a walkway that comes up into this area here, because you can enter the building here.
Oh, that's right.
There's a walk that goes all
That's
the
where
way
the
down.
playground is, right?
Correct. No,
No,
playground-
Oh, that's back
right
here.
there.
this is a vestibule, this is kind of a, it's not ADA, but there is a path over there.
Okay, let's take the things we know. You already had a color code identified here.
Okay.
So technology, I think we all agree that space makes the most sense for Kevin's
Yeah.
equipment and the town meetings and that sort of thing.
And then this is a technology space, can be a technology space.
So technology space is different from the control room, right?
Well, are we talking about any kind of technology space that's gonna need
So I
Wi-Fi
interpret
and
this,
hubs and all that?
I interpret this as being the second half of this building.
Correct.
Right, the
that's what it
servers
is.
and,
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
I'd like us to consider I'm sorry, I don't remember how much space this is altogether. Who's quick?
It's a lot. So you've got, each one of these is over 800.
Yeah, 4 times 8,
So you've
So
got
that would-
almost,
3,200.
35.
That would give them more than the
4,000 square
town
feet.
office has today.
yeah, it'd be close. Yeah, just
So-
over. Because this space here is 4,500
Oh.
square feet. And they have 3,500 currently.
At the town hall, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want to separate this from the library too far away, because if people need assistance using the technology, they're going to be wanting the library staff to help them. So you want to make sure that they can quickly get down there.
I think Kevin did some digging around, and I think he went with that space right there because of the
Yeah.
ease of ability to
Right,
get
right
up.
next to.
He also said, I think, across the hall
Yeah,
would be
and I
okay.
asked him, because I challenged him on that. I was like, why can't it be across?
Mhm.
And he said, well, it could be, just as long as it's very close.
Right.
So if we want to ensure a way for the town to have enough space, perhaps something like all of this, I don't know if that's enough yet,
Yeah, I
because
mean,
we don't know what they actually need.
Mhm.
And we'll grow into.
Personally, if I'm looking at this, way too much room for all these things.
I agree.
Well, that's true.
Like-
These rooms
like
are
these are-
large. and
Like a remote workspace for that is almost, I mean, that's a lot just for that thing. So, I mean, when you look at how this has been set up,
Mhm.
I think that's very hard for us to sit here and say, well, this could go here and that could go there. Because ultimately, maybe 5 things could go there and
Mhm.
2 things can go there. I mean, there's so
Right.
much more that can be done here. And I think this is actually extremely limiting. That's just my,
I think that
Take
some
on it.
things speak for themselves, like the library space, I had wanted it down here, but just looking at the way it's configured right now, for the way a library should be, open and everything, to me, that makes sense. As library is purple, and you need more space, so a staff workroom, actually, if there's a way we
Right,
could kind of lock in that
'Cause that will-
quadrant.
Well, that's why I put the door there, because if there's community things happening, you want to make sure you can lock your library off so people can't get down in there. They can get as far as the restrooms, but they can't get into the main part of the library.
Right.
And these are easily locked just themselves, so.
So this is something that we've talked about maybe going in another building. entirely,
Mhm.
right, down the library. So if that were whatever you're putting in here, again, given that there's, as Kayla just said, that can be divided up for various things, it's still close to the library, and that leaves that for town hall space as needed. And maybe this is.
Does anybody know what the
library.
Library of Things is at a supply kind of?
Library of Things is a collection of objects that can be lent out. Sports equipment, could be cooking equipment, could be power tools, could be, things like that. Instead of lending books and videos, lending small appliances, things like
Or
that.
medical things as well.
Certainly,
Yeah.
can. That's why we put that with that, because it's
Yeah,
things.
because the medical closet
Crutches and.
has a whole house of its own down in Wyndham.
Mhm.
So I don't know if half of a.
Maybe some of those items
I don't
can come up here, so it's closer to where they might be needed.
I'm just
'Cause I
wondering,
don't-
space-wise, if half a room is enough. Like, I know that's the art room.
If we're recommending that library, when vacated, is the food pantry, could that also be the medical closet, library of things, whatever,
Yeah.
depending upon what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be, yeah,
And
absolutely.
again, I think someone else was saying that this is definitely something that could go in another building,
Yeah.
it seems like the town hall or whatever.
It depends who's going to be administering it. If
Yep.
the library has to catalog and sign these things out, it should stay close to the library.
We don't have this now, right?
Right.
So it
No,
would be,
you
and it's
don't have
likely
this
would be
now.
volunteer
Right.
run.
No, it
or
would just be
used in
part of
Great
the
Park.
library. It's just another collection.
Well, you're talking about, yeah, you're talking about the library of things,
Right.
and then there's the loan closet, two
Okay.
separate things. Volunteers do the loan closet in Wyndham, and
Okay.
and it's fine, it works out, and that's, and I, so,
So that would fit with like the food pantry, the thrift
Right, it
shop,
could,
maybe that
it
would
could.
fit in with that
depending on how,
kind of
how,
services?
depending on who's-
assistance.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, so it depends on who's down there, who's volunteering, and the fellow that does the food pantry now, is he available more days? No, he's not.
Well, he does the work more days, but he only opens the pantry
Yeah.
for 3 hours.
But he would be available to open the pantry more, or no?
As a volunteer, I
Yeah.
can't speak for that.
Yeah, right, so, right.
I can't speak for
Yeah.
that. And also for here, we need to provide space for the emergency meetings, the private sessions. The
Oh, executive session.
executive sessions, so I don't know if we can use this space over here for that.
That's
That's a closet, I
That's a
think.
closet.
Yeah.
You
That
could,
has a-
But in the evenings, you were going to have these spaces
correct.
not being used, most likely, because it's after hours. Library staff's gone home, nobody's around to let people in.
Just to make sure I can
So an
answer the
executive
like,
session could be,
That's like a meeting room. I mean, obviously, then it makes sense
Yeah.
right across. You could just meet right in there for executive sessions.
Well, again, if this is all town hall, and that's divvied up for various offices, but you do have a need for, you have at least a small conference kind of a space. So that's another need of the town hall. So again, if this is, if that's library and this is kind of town hall, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
she
There's
made
an
a
office
good
space to
point.
meet for exec session.
When they have Board of Selectmen's meetings, it's usually 6 or 7 o'clock at night. None of the stuff's going to be occupied, and they've got plenty of room where you could dual purpose, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I
you
would
don't
think
need a
for a meeting.
specialized, yeah, right.
Yeah,
because
that would
these
be,
are all, I mean, these can be meeting rooms for different types of meeting spaces. Part of this could be for video conferencing. Part of this could be for small group meetings, or,
So-
student work rooms or something.
What I'm hearing is that we probably ought to take these spaces at least, and this one, and make them part of our wish list, and not necessarily label them, because we don't want to limit ourselves or the next committee. So, we can then prioritize them as part of our wish list, and let the next committee figure out how to make those spaces the right size for that activity.
Right.
Because it's not only what activities you offer, it's where those activities go and should be or should not be next to another type of activity.
Right,
Right.
but that will take the detail of the next
I
group
think that's beyond our
figuring that
scope
out.
at this
Yeah.
point.
Yes.
Although
Figure that
we
out.
need to keep in mind things like children's safety, having, like Westbrook it was, had that whole separate, the whole center of the building
And
was locked
nobody's-
off.
and toys.
Kayla had a good point. This is all gonna be, no, I wouldn't call it a mute thing, but they're gonna put this in front of an architect.
You would.
Oh, yeah.
And they're gonna,
I don't want us to get too down into the weeds on it. I don't-
know the
I
best
think
flow.
it is amazing that the work that has been
Right.
put into this and the attention to detail and the effort, but at the end of the day, it literally does mean nothing.
Right.
And I think that's important for us all to recognize, and I think it's wonderful how much work has been put into this committee. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And it again shows just the strong volunteers that we have in this community, and I'm very proud of, all of this stuff that's been put together. But again, it's going to, and we also, the big elephant, which we were told not to talk about, is the cost.
Yeah.
So there's way more than just what's feasible. What can we do? It's going to come down to the dollar sign.
Yeah, it might be
So
a good
there's-
flow, and then all of a sudden, you put
I
a number,
mean-
it's like, oh, we gotta change this.
Exactly. So I just think that, putting together the wish list and saying, hey, we conceptualized this and we thought this would work really well. I mean, that's wonderful. But again, at the end of the day, it's probably all going to be rewritten, relooked at,
So
and
let's
overhauled.
build 4 quadrants then. This is
Yeah,
Parks
makes
and
sense.
Rec, and this is the library, and this
You
is
got town
Town
hall,
Hall.
Down here.
and then you have
Absolutely,
remaining
yeah.
community space or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's right.
Yeah, perfect.
TBD.
That'll give them something
Yeah.
to fall back and at least they
What?
they
Be
can
to
see
be
what we're
determined.
thinking.
Yes.
How to group them, yeah.
Oh, I thought we were saying town there, though. No?
Oh, I
would-
did. I like-
I would
okay.
put town here,
Good,
just
good, okay.
personally.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec-y, right, over
And
here. Because
community, how
this is also
That's
really
turnkey right
community.
there, yeah.
I mean, can be
About
used
green
for
and
lots
yellow.
of people.
That's right, and the
So can the kitchen,
cafeteria, the
and
cafeteria.
so this is still kind of community space here. Even though it involved Parks and Rec's activity, it's still community space. And then,
Well, it's
'cause
kind of
you
green
don't-
and yellow, green
This
and
is a
yellow.
lot of space just for those 3 things. And we already know that the town hall can fit in there as it is now.
Right. So it'd be more or less like,
Aren't they needing more space, though?
Yes.
We
That's the whole point.
I mean,
we
but
don't
again,
know if they're
that's-
laid out in the optimal way. We know that it's been
There's a
moved
lot-
around
Yeah,
as
we've
you've had
cut
to.
and chopped and there's offices.
There's a lot
that
more
could be-
functional space in
Correct,
this than,
correct.
we
Those
have a lot
rooms
of
are-
dead space.
And those rooms are big. When we walked
Right.
around,
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty large rooms.
oh, yeah.
They are.
So,
Okay.
And I think this way too, for public access, we would have this
There,
way and this
there.
way.
yeah.
And then for the library, should we decide to do the same thing, this way and this way?
Yes, right, yeah.
Talking about maybe this becoming not the bus
yeah.
turnaround, but a parking lot.
Right.
That'd be nice looking in, right? Come off the road, you have the front main entrance and parking. Makes sense.
All right. So just so I'm clear, so we've got Parks and Rec is this quadrant here plus our community space. Library is here.
Yeah.
Do we cut library off here? Or do we include this space?
We leave it as is.
Yeah.
Just with the colors.
See what they
They'll
can do.
figure out
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Do you want to put this as community center here, because that's the teen, where you had talked about some kids' space?
That's, Rec wanted that, right?
Well,
It was an
To
option.
lead some activities and.
Yeah, this is coordinated between Parks and Rec and library, right, basically?
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
had like in here, could be kind of,
Right, because
This-
this is like the family children's bathroom in there.
Or the teen center
And
could
then
be
the-
in that basement. No, just.
That's right, with padded walls, right?
Is it soundproof? So, and the children's programming is going to need storage for their crafts and their, all of their materials that go with that.
Good.
I mean, almost everything.
Yeah.
So technology, I guess, is really,
Well, you can have public computing space in here.
you're anticipating having that in the library already, aren't you?
I think Richard would like to have a couple of things here, but if you want to have enough for people to come in and do long-term project work, or, like our seasonal visitors come in and they may want to do some work on their vacation or during the summer, they're going to need space that they know they can get into, sit down, either bring a device or sit down at a device. Maybe there's going to even be a few like lockers that they can store their projects in. I mean, it's open for what we want, what we need. I see it's happening at a lot of libraries, and it's being very, very successful. that people can come in and do work at the library that they can't do well at home. Or they travel, they're on the road, or they have home-based business or whatever, or they're hybrid workers.
You want to make sure you get your director's space.
Although I'll argue 12 by 17 is a lot for
That's
an office.
Yeah, we can just run around
After
that.
sharing an office with him, he needs
It's all basketball.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
had
no,
like
that's
a
all.
rapier, and he hit this much.
Depends on what
A
season,
lot
you
of
know?
stuff that goes with rec and
They put the ball bag somewhere.
There's times I didn't think I could get out.
Build around you.
Kayla, thank you for bringing that up. I think we were getting into the weeds.
I mean, it's
For
hard
no
not to,
reason,
right?
yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to, but I
fun.
think, and I'm probably been seeming like a little stickler here, but I keep bringing up, well, I mean, we don't really, what's our mission again? What, trying to bring it back to say, well, what's our mission and what is the reality of it? And I think, unfortunately, that is the reality, that it could very much look like this. And it could very much not.
Could look very different.
But that's going to come out of a lot of extra, a lot of work done by professionals.
right, but this
who
helps.
are really looking at needs, the space, the cost.
Right. But this is like placeholders. It's like, this makes sure that certain activities or services or programs aren't getting forgotten. So we're kind of like slotting them in just so we can show that it can work.
And I see that as partly the function of our wish list and setting priorities to that.
Right.
That we're going to pass that information on to them to then digest and
Right.
make room for.
But it makes sense of general priorities now, like you're,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Kinda seeing
people,
that.
people need to see something so
Right.
that they'll say, yes, let's spend money for an architect or
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
some sort of
Correct.
design.
They take one look
I'm
at this and say,
something.
yes, let's get an architect.
And we're committed to these three groups being in here. I mean, that's, I think, a takeaway
That's
for
coming
me.
out loud and clear.
Is,
Yeah.
really, and so then the job is to how everybody has to work together to modify their wishes and needs so that everybody has the space they really need. So that's,
I think this is important to do this exercise.
mm,
And when it comes time to go to the architect, people need to hold their ground a little bit to make sure that we get what we envision we need.
That's a good point,
And,
too.
'cause if you handed this blank slate to an architect and an engineer, we're gonna be, and again, like Kayla said, the elephant in the room, we're gonna be $10, $15, $20 million. We're gonna go buy and the place is gonna be all flat, and they're gonna be building a brand new building. So
Well, no, I mean,
you gotta keep a thumb
I
on it.
think there, when it comes down to it, and you're really looking at price tag and reality, the layout and the bones of the building is not going to change that much because it's just going to cost too much to do that. So what's going to end up coming out of it is what is the best way to use the space largely as it is right now.
right, that's right, and fit
And
these
that's,
things,
that, I
that's
mean,
right.
that's the reality, and
That's right.
it's not going to get overhauled, and
For
it's
the-
not going to be
No,
torn down and rebuilt.
we're not tearing walls down
No,
and stuff.
I mean, it's
no.
going to be, we may add some walls, but,
Mm, but
or
not-
something, but, I mean,
Right.
you're,
We can
I
tear
just
some
think
walls, we can add some
in
walls.
reality, when
We
you
saw
look
that-
at the cost,
Yes.
that's what you're looking at.
It's like in Gorham, what they did. I mean, they didn't do much with the structure. The structure was there, and they
Then
used
they
that
did pieces
structure.
at a
Yeah.
time.
And they put
That's how
and
you
they
keep
put
the
those
price tag
open,
down.
and they put those open office spaces in those big rooms,
It's going to have
Cubicles.
cubicles
right.
and partitions as
Yes.
opposed to,
Walls,
brick
right.
and mortar.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But for the architect, they're gonna say form follows function. So they need to know what kinds of activities and spaces we want in our building, and then they're gonna bring their design knowledge to, oh, you wanna do that there, so you're gonna need to have this, like that,
Yeah, that's right.
so.
So, just a question, this multi-purpose shared space as it's labeled right now, is that still something that I think, maybe it was, I think I have mentioned, keeping some space kind of in reserve, flexible for things we didn't yet think of, identify maybe something that does bring in revenue of some type at some point? Is that kind of possible there too? In
Oh,
other words,
yeah.
it's not like, these are the things we want, and so if you have extra space, just make these things bigger, as opposed to reserve some space for what we
That's
haven't yet
important, yeah.
anticipated.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, okay.
That's very
All right.
good.
for growth, yeah.
Yeah, and it's always seeing what works and
Yeah.
what doesn't, and I think allowing that space to
Keeping
be
some
developed.
flexibility.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it seems like the direction we're headed, that a lot of this space here will be available for community center
Some
type
flex-
development.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for the post-it.
Yeah, that worked out well.
Quite a collection here, I'm amazed.
So, just so I'm clear, we're going to leave this as is and use this to give a visual to the next committee. Okay?
That's great.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Just drop the mic.
You just leave mics there, that's fine.
The voices in our head.
They're going to take my kids home. Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Either that or
See
they
that?
worded it later.
No, I said, take my kids home. He's like, okay. Yeah.
That's a good point. We'll wait till-
Stranger danger.
Apparently not.
No, didn't work.
Sorry, Lori.
Say, when did
We got this. Yeah, she got in before, so she can do it again.
Get down to test.
have I? No, I haven't.
I thought of
Except for the screen doors.
Except for what?
Thank you.
The screen door that.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
I think that
Is
was,
that something there?
That was definitely worth it.
That was great.
Exercise. Yeah. I think we're all ready for that.
Yeah, we'll have it done.
with the caveat there.
All right. I did forget to mention at the beginning of the meeting that we do have the select board coming in right behind us. They have a special meeting tonight. But we're, by no means does that, I mean, we have to rush to get through our meeting. They said right up to 35 minutes to transition and they're good, so. But with that, we are at the point of all the agenda items that I had listed, and I don't see any community to public comment. So I'm going to go right to committee's comment and let us maybe wrap up what we were just talking about, which was really good discussion. I appreciate that, everybody. Maybe some final thoughts on recommendations.
Question, should we be making a recommendation about the portable, where we say we recommend we bring the TV studio into that large community space, and then the portable could be removed, or?
I think it's a given that the
It's a given,
portable
just a
Yeah.
given, it's
Yeah.
gonna come
Right.
But
down.
we
Okay.
might as well make it clear, just that's
Yeah,
our
I think-
Because
recommendation.
that's part of our thinking process.
Well, we'll need more parking everywhere
Yes,
if
yeah.
all of this activity is coming to this building.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
right.
a very good idea to mention too. Like recommendations to, add additional spaces in front maybe, or of course
This-
on that side.
This building, though, I think is going to get torn down, right?
I hope so.
Well, you said it had already outlived its.
It's sitting on cement blocks and
Yeah.
moving. It's had a good purpose. It's had a good run. I think it's time for it to go away.
This is my daughter's 4th grade class here. This room, God.
I think I actually went to school in the town office edition when they were out there.
Pete, if committee comment can be on things that aren't directly about the committee, then I have a comment.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I did just want to mention, we've been talking a lot about the library being in this space, and I just wanted to say that the current library offered a great evening with an author, had the books that people could pick up. They got them for free from a donation, and just, it really was making me feel really good about the potential of what we're looking at here for the library being expanded. There's a lot more that can be done there. It was a really good event. And they've got the plant sale, I think Sue already mentioned that, coming up on Saturday.
Plant sale Saturday.
Yep, and I also want to remind people to be sure they are coming out to vote on June 10th and hopefully supporting the school budget. So, got to put that plug in wherever I go. Okay.
Thanks, because that brings up a good point, because some of those shared spaces or multi-use spaces there that we just talked about, the library will need some of those kinds of meeting spaces to hold crafts and book discussion groups and things like that, because right now, it's just right out in the main floor of the library.
Yep.
So it's very distracting to anybody who's trying to do anything else, especially quiet work. So libraries need quiet space, and they also need conversational learning space.
Right. Anybody else? Thoughts for next meeting? Do we want to, are we at a point where we want to more or less try to wrap things up next meeting?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I guess any last thoughts can be communicated to me between now and then. And in addition, I'll try to polish the summary report a little more and get that out to everybody for review, and then, please feel free to communicate back to me things that I need to add or whatever.
Yeah, you made a great start with it. I mean, what you've
Yeah.
already done is,
I did already make one edit myself. I missed our first meeting, April 14th, so that is now in there. All right, well,
all right.
do I have a motion to adjourn? Are we ready?
So moved.
Yeah.
Second? All in favor?